Awesome. There we go. All right. Well, I'm here with the fantastic Meredith Moon. She's here. She has a brand new album that just came out. It's called From Here to the Sea. And after kind of reading a little bit about you, listening to some of your music, it seems like a bit of a leap in terms of creativity for you, kind of a departure from maybe more traditional folk music that you've played uh, previously. Is
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
speak to that?
On this album, we tried to sort of I wanted to make it more about my songwriting instead of traditional Appalachian tunes. So there's only one traditional tune on this album, and that's Lulu Gal,
Mm.
and the rest are my own. So I'm glad you noticed the shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I kind of wanted to ask you was maybe what the impetus for that shift was, but was there a sound that you kind of had in mind when you set out on this, on like creating this album, like to kind of change where you were going, or was there a moment during the process where it just kind of clicked and you figured out this is the sound that this next project's going to be?
It's really interesting because I didn't really go for a specific sound. I sort of just, however the songs turned out, that's how they turned out. Colin Linden did a
Mm.
lot for sort of putting his input into the songs and getting a good vibe on them, instrumentally and otherwise. So, but yeah, there was really no sort of vibe I was going for. As long as for me, I wanted every song to have a different feeling and sort of, to like dip into different genres a little bit throughout the album. So yeah, I wanted each one to stand out in different ways using different instrumental arrangements and everything. And yeah, but I didn't really have a sound in mind, no.
Okay. And certainly that's something I noticed upon listening, especially the first time, but even going back and listening the second time through this album is just how good it sounds in terms of the instrumental like
Thanks.
bits, all the different instruments, whether it's the piano, banjo, the guitar, even some of the horns. It's just very clear to me as a listener like how I don't know how it just sounds so crisp and very high quality. You could tell you're working with some very very accomplished musicians. As I saw, I mean, you with the great Jerry Douglas, I've had the pleasure of
Oh yeah.
seeing him before. Julian Taylor, incredible, and then some. I mean, there's what at least five or six other incredible. Especially the drums. Oh my gosh, sorry. I get a little excited, but I was listening to it. I woke up this morning and listened to your album from start to finish. It's just the instruments are incredible on that.
Yeah.
What was it like working with some of those guys?
It was great. I the only one that I really got nervous about was Jerry
Mm.
Douglas, So I mean, I've been listening to Jerry Douglas since I was like 15. He was part of my intro to old time and bluegrass music and everything. So yeah, I was definitely a little choked up. I didn't have a whole lot to say to him, but
How did that come about? Working
It
with
was
him.
called. So I mentioned his name to Colin.
Okay.
I was like, I want a steel player and or sorry, a dobro player, and I was like, what is my dream dobro player to be on this album? And I was like, okay, maybe I'm reaching a bit far if I ask about Jerry Douglas. And I was like, Colin, like, do you think Jerry Douglas is a possibility? And I was like, I know it's crazy to ask that. And he's like, oh no, I know Jerry. Like he comes over for dinner sometimes. I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, so, so
That's
that I got really
incredible.
lucky. Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to speak things into existence and they happen. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen him twice now at Eric Clapton's
Oh,
Crossroads Guitar
cool.
Festival, and
Nice.
blew me away. Because to be
Yeah.
honest, bluegrass was not one of the genres I always kind of listened to, and I was captivated hearing him get out there,
Yeah.
just shreds. Um, tell so I guess wanted to ask. I mean, what's this is kind of a hard question because I shared this out. My mom talked to her yesterday. And I said I'm chatting with this really cool Canadian artist named Meredith Moon, and she listened to the. I was shocked actually. Sometimes I send so many people songs. I don't know if you can relate to this, and they just don't respond. I think I send too much music to people. But my mom, I don't know what she was doing. She sat there and listened to your whole album, was sending me paragraphs about this is incredible. Like some of these, and she's like sorry, what's the song? It's called The Willows. Is that the name of it?
A willow. Yeah.
The Willow, and she adored that. So
Cool.
I don't know how you're doing with the demographic of 60-year-old ladies in North Vancouver, BC, but you might notice a spike there. But what
Cool.
it
Thanks, Mom.
absolutely it made me wonder was I couldn't pick out my favorite song because there's so many great tracks on there. Do you have one in particular that's kind of your piece de resistance,
Um,
like your
I mean,
favorite one?
I really I guess my favorite song on the album is Louisiana Trees.
Okay.
That song is sort of like my baby in a weird way. It's and that's the one that I really wanted to, it was never a single or anything like that, but I really wanted to like make that song into, basically my a song that I'm just like I'm really glad I wrote that song, so I like tried
Mm,
to really like incorporate as much like the instrumentals on it and everything, like really tried to like give that song more attention than the rest of them.
okay.
Um, and I have like an issue now that with new songs I'm writing, I call it Louisiana Trees syndrome, and they all start sounding like Louisiana trees now. So
Oh no.
I basically just keep rewriting Louisiana Trees for some reason, and it's like a template now. So I like go in and just
Interesting.
change little things about it so it sounds different enough. But that song's like, it's like haunting me in a weird way. So yeah.
I suppose that's a good thing though, perhaps. It's you found what works, but now you got to get out of it. That's interesting. What's your songwriting process like? Do you work, is it all independent or are you working with other people?
I've never done a co-write as of this point in time. It's something I'm open to, but for me, songwriting is such a personal process that I don't really know if I could be a co-writer.
Mhm.
But it's something I would have to experiment with. Yeah, so my process is basically, it comes from like just sitting with an instrument and I'll come up with a riff and then that riff will just keep replaying obsessively in my brain. And then if I like write a poem or something, then like my brain will kind of automatically like turn like that riff into one line from that poem will like kind of mix with it.
Okay.
And then I'll sit down and write the lyrics. And writing the actual lyrics is usually pretty quick, but it's a matter of like finding um, a melody that fits with the cadence of the hook or like the one or like I guess it would be the chorus or
Hmm.
whatever. Um, so yeah, start with like a little melody that's a hook and then like, a good like set of words to go with that melody and then the lyrics kind of just fill in themselves. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So when you showed up to the studio, it looks like you recorded in Nashville and then also in Canada. Is that correct on
Yeah.
this recent project? So when you come into the studio, you have all the arrangements done yourself. What you have in mind in terms of the intros, what the guitar is going to play, is that all kind of set up?
Yeah, pretty much. But of course with, like with Lily Mae Reich, like she came in and like did a solo on, so things like that and like Jerry Douglas and everything, like whoever comes in and like does a solo on it, like that's their instrumental part that they've, written. But if I'm playing instruments, then I've written that arrangement. But yeah, like I have a general premise of the song. There were a couple arrangements on the album that I was like, man, I just can't get this guitar part today. And then Colin jumped in and, did it on his acoustic or whatever it was. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, so d definitely there's a general idea of what's going on. But so this is my first time working with a producer,
Okay.
um, and not just producing it myself. So, yeah, songs are so personal and they're like your children in a way. And when it's hard to like pass them over, it's like asking someone to babysit. You're like, okay, like I just hope you do a good job with this thing. Um, and so this was my first time passing the songs off to someone else and being like, like I trust.
Wow, that must have
Really
been
glad that Colin did them justice. And did what I was hoping that he would do with them. So, yeah.
wow. So if it's your first time, um, forgive me, I don't have too much knowledge of the music industry and what the recording process is like. So I'm asking as more of a fan of music. You said it's your first time working with a producer. Does that mean it's your one of your first times being in a studio with more people around while you're recording? Is that? Am I right to
No,
infer
so
that or no?
no, so basically a producer is a person who like yes, like Colin did, the recording as well with other folks. But he like basically take like as we're recording, he'll get an idea and he'll be like, okay, we need this in the song, or I just sort of hand them over to be like,
Okay.
okay, your artistic input, like I want your input. I want you to, you know, tell me what you think the song needs, or what in some cases what instruments should be on this song. And so he sort of although I had a general idea, I was like, I want a horn section on this song or
Okay.
whatever. But he would kind of decide what horns. He's like, I think there should be sax and clarinet on this. And he's
I
like, how do you
noticed the
feel about
clarinet.
saxophones? And I was like, I don't know. And then Jim Hoke played the saxophone, and I was like, maybe I like saxophone now. Yeah, so
It
stuff like
worked.
that, Yeah, so
It worked. Yeah, that's what I also loved about your album. And forgive me if I'm mischaracterizing, but to me, I mean, it sounds like it's definitely in nature kind of folk, but maybe more folk rock. Is that correct? And then noticed some elements
yeah.
of blues, some jazz even. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think Colin kind of, he sprinkled a bit of Blackie and the Rodeo Kings in there at some points, which is great because they're one of my favorite Canadian bands. But yeah, so there's definitely like that kind of folk rock, kind of
Hmm.
outlaw kind of vibe in there sometimes. With the song Six Strings, I
I
found
love
it
that
really
song. I
interesting
adore that
because
song.
that song was a thank you. That song was originally like whenever I played it live, the band would like step off and I would just do it like a sad solo piano song. And then Colin was like, no, you know what? We're gonna turn this into a 70s Elton John, British
Yes,
rock ballad or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like
Amarina or something. Tumbleweed Connection. That era, right? 1970s Elton
I
John. I
think
don't know.
so, yeah. Yeah.
I no, I adored that. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So I guess not getting back to, but is this your third album you've released or second? Third, right?
Third,
Third.
yeah.
Okay. So you're at this point in your musical career. I understand you started quite young, around when you're 14, you're a self-taught guitar player, and then you just kind of
Yeah.
took off and discovered the world. What was that like? I even read, I think, did you busk here in Halifax at one
Yeah, I
point?
did. I did. I used to go to I don't know if you know the Arc. If you've heard
No,
of that
I'm
place.
new to
It's like
Halifax,
a
to be honest. I'm from Vancouver, so.
yeah, it was I think her name was Dorothy. I don't know if it's still around, but this really sweet lady ran this place that basically would feed all the traveling kids when they came
Wow.
in, and some of the homeless folks as well. And it was basically just a place where, if you go to Halifax, you go to the Ark first, you get fed, like you meet some fellow travelers, you jam some tunes. I think they had a piano in there. Um and then, like kind of grab a group of people and go busking with them. And so that was sort of like our little like hub in Halifax for the traveling kids. But yeah, I did a lot of busking at the docks in
Okay,
Halifax.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, and I actually started playing ukulele when I was 8. So
Wow.
I was one of those ukulele kids.
The,
Your
the
hands are too small for the guitar. Let's get you a
that's
ukulele. So yeah. Um,
I guess I wanted to ask, is someone, I mean, I play crappy guitar myself, just as a hobby instrument. But I know I've been playing maybe for 5 years. I noticed you just every now and then you're playing and you go, how did I learn that? Or I'm at this point where it's like, oh, you're the more you know, the less you don't, I suppose. But what I wanted to ask
Nice.
a professional like yourself is when you started out, um, like when you're through your songwriting process and you're learning instruments, how do I phrase this? This is a question I've been dying to ask someone. Um, do you start out just with like a ba have you noticed like your skills really develop as you've learned to play with more people and as you've grown older? Like when you started out, was it just you knew the chords? Have you always understood scales, the pentatonics, all those sorts of things? Is that a
Yeah.
clear question?
No, I've never known scales,
Okay.
never known pentatonics. I just kind of figure out what sounds right, and then I just memorize that. That's how I learned. But yeah, definitely with chords. I mean, with piano, I don't know anything beyond just when I was 18, I was living in this apartment building, and they had a piano downstairs in the library, and I would go in at like 10 at night or 11 at night and like play on the piano and like look up piano chords. So like, and I would have like my computer up top of the piano with the chords on
Yeah.
Google or whatever. And that's how I learned piano. And so all the like the notes I know on piano are, and I'm not, I play piano like Neil Young plays piano, kind
Okay.
of. Like it's
Did
just kind
you
of
play it
like
on the
it's folk
record?
piano. It's not classical piano or anything like that. I'm not the best piano player, but I just kind of figure out what sounds right and then I kind of remember. So
Wow.
I don't know.
No, that's very interesting to hear. I've been dying to ask that because I always feel like I pull up, I mean, chords and I can learn stuff and I go, oh, I don't like anyhow, it's just interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Did you play the piano on the record?
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. It's so good. Because I
Thanks.
was looking, I saw the list of like the studio musician or the like a session musicians. Is that what you'd call some of them? The folks who came in and worked with you.
Yeah, I
And
guess.
I didn't
Session.
notice there was a pianist, so I assumed it was you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow. Yeah. So what's six strings? I love category five. Is that I, could you tell me a little bit about what that song's about? I mean, as someone who's living in Atlantic Canada, I immediately kind of assumed hurricanes out here, but is there a separate meaning to that?
Yeah, so I was falling in love with my now husband and we were traveling around Florida in February of 2023 and I had to come home to play some shows with my friend Zachary Lucky around Ontario. I had this weekend tour that had been booked for a couple months, and I was like, in that like newly falling in love stage. And I'm like, I don't want to go right now, but I had to fly from Miami to Toronto, and with the how the border, the state of the world and everything, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to just like get back down there, like. I don't have like a visa. They know I'm a musician, even though I wasn't going to work. So I had all these fears about crossing the border back, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just, and I did actually. I went to the border and whatever they let me in, and I went back down to Florida. But I wrote that song. I started writing it in Florida when I knew I had to leave, and I was like, I'm gonna be like a category 5. I'm gonna cross the border and come right back down here, and no one's gonna stop me or whatever. And so that's kind of the premise of the song is I'm gonna get in my car and drive is me driving down to Florida. So I don't
I love that. That's one of my favorite songs on
know.
the. I think it's just great.
Thanks.
When I listened to that album, I was actually was just at the gym and I was even listening to some of it there, and I was walking back and I go, "There's two." I've noticed maybe this is a personal thing in terms of my listening habits, but I was like, there's two, I could see myself listening to this in two capacities. One, I could sit down and really just kind of engage with the lyrics and certainly the storytelling aspect, because I noticed most of your songs, they took me at least on a journey kind of with you, or I was certainly starting to imagine in my mind what kind of the scenario looked like and how it was playing out. And then the other
Cool.
capacity, it's just also a great easy listening thing. I can listen to it while I'm doing something. I thought that was really special about the project.
That's
I don't know.
cool. Yeah, that's funny that you say you were listening to it at the gym. I was
Yeah.
like listening to folk music at the gym because like I when I go to the gym, I'm actually currently trying to get through the entire discography of the Library of Congress recordings.
Oh wow.
Like all the blues record and I'm just like, like on the like arm, I'm like pulling down the weights and I'm like listening to like take this hammer. And then like I feel like everyone else is listening to like boots, 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 and
Absolutely.
like
People think I'm crazy. I listen to the Grateful Dead when I'm working out. I can
yeah.
yeah.
I'm listening to this like a cappella like gospel choir like I'm just like, so I'm glad I'm not the only one who listens to folk at the gym. Yeah.
You are not alone. I'm glad I'm not the only one because I sometimes I look around, I'm like, if they knew what I was listening to right now, they'd think
Yeah.
I'm a nut
Totally.
bar. That's
Yeah.
so funny. You mentioned at the beginning just how personal the songwriting process is to you, and I wanted to ask perhaps a more personal question. And forgive me if it's not something you'd like to speak about, but I understand this is one of your first experiences writing an album and putting one out there in Sobriety. I was
Yeah.
wondering how that changed. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of Eric Clapton, and I read his biography, and I remember he, just as an artist, he was afraid to, you know, pursue sobriety because he didn't think he could get up there and perform in that capacity. I was
Yeah.
wondering what that experience has been like for you and how maybe the process has changed.
Yeah, so I mean, I always felt, like I always felt like if I stopped drinking, I wouldn't be able to write music. I would have stage fright again. I would have, all these, th like it was just, and I think that my best answer or my best way to describe that is there's sort of this like I don't think many people talk about it, but there's sort of this like biopic culture that
Mm.
follows people around of like, like we grow up watching biopics of like, these famous musicians and stuff. And I think there's kind of like this culture around like, oh yeah, everybody's got to get like messed up on booze and like
Yeah,
have like, your 20s and 30s, you got to be just like, wasted all the time and like do like this rock star thing. Like, I don't know what
I
that is. A
agree.
lot of it is just kind of Hollywood. And it turned out after I quit drinking and I started talking to people about it that like all the musicians, like most of the musicians that I really looked up to in the Americana scene were sober the whole time. And I was like, oh, like, I don't have to be this like this like cool drunk cowboy at the bar or whatever. Like there's this sort of like image of it that I think people are
Absolutely.
embarrassed to talk about, but it is really pushed upon people, especially in like, their 20s. And it turns out that a lot of the musicians you look up to are actually sober. And um, so I didn't feel limited. I did maybe for the first few months, of course, because you're going through, getting over an addiction. Um, but I honestly had no idea that my songs could come out so easily,
Hmm.
and that ideas could flow so easily as they do now. And the stage fright thing is like non-existent. Like I had stage fright when I was drinking. And I think it's
Oh,
just, there's like this perception like, oh, it calms you down, it calms your nerves, you can, it lowers your inhibitions or whatever. I think it really just, makes us incapable of setting real boundaries for ourselves. But I think that, it's what it is a nervous system stimulant. So it
mm.
makes you feel like you're calm because it kind of like makes you a little tired and a little, um, but it's actually like stimulating your nervous system. So it's really cranking up your anxiety. And I found that without it, like after a few months without it, like it just everything just feels so much clearer and I just feel so much more confident in myself. Um, and yeah, really, I mean, we naturally have ways of, conquering things like stage fright that are built into us if we can kind of, clock into those and like, or tap into those and channel those parts of us. I think that it's a lot, for me personally, it's a lot more easy to perform without drinking
Wow.
and write songs. Yeah, it's so if anyone is listening to this and you don't think that you can do it or you think you can't, write songs or perform without booze, just give it a try for a few months and I promise it's a lot easier. But
Well,
yeah.
that's a very honest answer. I appreciate it, and congratulations. Um,
Thank you. Thanks.
I must it must be. Do you find it's almost more rewarding when you kind of you land that stunt as a matter of figure of speech in
Yeah.
terms of like that whether it's you're doing something on stage or you find that melody or that lyric when you're songwriting and you're in a clear state of mind.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. And that's not to, uh, talk down anybody who does
No,
use,
no,
substances or alcohol to create things or get things done because we're all at different, points in our journeys and everything. But for me, it does feel rewarding only because quitting drinking was so hard that, yeah, I definitely feel proud of myself when I get something done without it. Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. I guess I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I'd like to ask, I mean, you've got new music out. It's been about a month now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
About a month. Do you have plans to take this music on the road? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so
Are you with a
I've got
band? Are you on your own?
so I'm doing a few duo shows this fall, basically scattered around the states, which are all on my website. I'm going to be in Toledo, Ohio on November 9th, and I'm going to be in Bisbee, Arizona at
Okay.
the end of November. And then I'm going to be in New Orleans in January.
Oh,
And,
great.
there's soon to be probably more shows going on. But yeah, and then I've got, haven't really announced much of it yet, but I've got a tour coming up in Ontario in February with my full band. So
Oh, exciting.
that'll be listed soon for all of my Canadian pals.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I was excited. I'm excited to hear that you're touring with the full band, so we get to hear all those instrumental parts that are so great on this record. So it's
Well, thank you.
very fantastic. In terms of music, I guess you constantly writing. Do you already have the next project in mind? Are you kind of gonna sit, take this in, enjoy it, go play it, see how the songs evolve on the road, or what's that like
Yeah,
for you?
I have a habit of as soon as an album is submitted fully to the label and like everything's coming together and it's ready to be released, I start writing. So once one chapter is over, I'm like my brain is
Right on.
automatically like writes songs whether I want it to or not. So I actually already have um I'm already kind of sifting through the songs that I have for the next album and trying to narrow them down. So yeah,
Exciting.
yeah.
Do you mind if I ask what is that? Is that a departure from what the current sound is? You may be going back to more traditional folk, or is it a completely different direction? Is
I'm not too sure yet. It depends what I feel like the week I record it, but yeah, it's folk. It's folk, yeah.
There you go. Fantastic. Well, Meredith
Cool.
Moon, brand new album out, From Here to the Sea. Fantastic. You should give it a listen. I encourage all your listeners to listen to an album from start to finish. You get this very uh, great listening experience. Listen to something in its full capacity. I don't think we do that enough anymore. I don't know if you can
The
speak to
old-fashioned
that.
way.
The old-fashioned way. That's how we should do it. And I'm confident that if you take a listen to this album, you're going to be taken on a real journey, a storytelling journey. It's great listening. Check out Meredith Moon. Check out her website. Find out where she's playing. Ontario coming up, perhaps. Exciting. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you talking to
Thanks,
me
Stuart.
today. Absolute pleasure. And
Okay, thank you.
best of luck
Thanks.
with everything. Awesome. Great.
Okay, should I just like leave the meeting?
You can leave. We're all good.
Okay. All right, great. Okay.
Thanks. Have a great Saturday.
Cheers, you too.
Take care. Mm-mm-mm.